How we doing today, neighbors? Ian with E-Trailer here, and today we're going to be installing the Hellwig Rear Sway Bar on our 2024 Ford E-Series Cutaway. Let's go over a few features of that and then we'll take care of the install. One thing you're going to find with your E-Series Cutaways is that they are very top heavy, and you really feel that in the cornering, and if you're driving across a very flat state like Kansas or Missouri, you're going to feel those straight line winds causing some drift. This particular neighbor already has some upgrades to include some bump stop replacements and an additional leaf spring in the rear of the vehicle. And so that kind of limited what we can do to assist them, but after talking to them a little bit about what specifically the problem was, they mentioned that it is a sway issue. So the common sense solution there is going to be a set of sway bars. We are doing the front and rear. We're going to be doing the rear on video here, but if you do end up planning to do the front along with your rear sway bar, please check out that other video and we'll walk you through getting that one installed as well. And speaking of the install, we're going to be on a lift for the video purposes, just so you can see as much as we're able to underneath the vehicle. Lifting a larger motorhome like this can be extremely difficult and potentially dangerous if you don't have the right equipment. All of this installation can be done from the ground though. You don't have to have the vehicle in the air. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned again that we are going to be on a lift just for video purposes, but all of this can be done from the ground. I'm going to walk you through the entire installation process, and if you happen to watch it and think to yourself, I don't want to try to tackle this, please do check out our dealer locator on the website. We'd be happy to help you find a trained professional in your area that can get this installed for you. But for all those DIYers, let's go ahead and hop into it and we'll get this taken care of. Our first step is going to be removing that factory sway bar. So starting at the rear of the vehicle in front of that rear axle, we'll have a couple end links on each side that we need to take loose, and we're going to begin up at the top of those with a 15mm either deep well socket, or in my case I'm going to be using a box end wrench just because it'll be easier to get in between the springs and the frame there. And as we go to take out those last couple threads, you do just want to put some pressure upwards on it to not damage the bolt. And we are going to retain any hardware we take off. So once you've got that driver's side off, just go ahead and hop over to the passenger side and repeat the exact same procedure. Now we can come to our bushing hangers that are on the axle. Those are going to be a 13mm on each bolt. There's 2 per hanger. So just make sure you're supporting the sway bar since we've got those end links loose, and take out those 13mm bolts. And with an extra pair of hands here, I got Aiden helping me. We're just going to take that last bolt loose. And we'll drop the bar out of the way. Now while we've got these both down, we can compare them side by side and see there is a substantial difference in diameter when it comes to these 2 sway bars. So with our Hellwig here, we're really going to get that good rigidity we're looking for. And we do need to add some lubrication just to avoid any squeaking out of the bushing. So we're going to start with our hangers that are going directly on the bar here. Just remove that bushing from it. Put some on the outside where it's going to be riding in the bracket, and then some on the inside where the bar is going to run as well. Then we'll just evenly spread all that out. Now there's going to be a cut in each of the bushings, and that's how we're going to get this over the bar. So spread the bushing out, pushing down on the bushing so it goes over the bar, and then we could take our bracket and just have that in place for now to keep any debris off the bushings. Now we are going to additionally get some bushings that are shaped like an hourglass. Those are going to be the ones we're going to press into the end links. But before we do that, we do have a sleeve that needs to go in each one. And the easiest way to do that is get them started by hand just on the edge. Sometimes you can just press them in by hand. But if you're having any issues getting that last little bit to go in, just use a vise or a big pair of channel locks will do the same thing. We just want to make sure we're seated as much as we can be into that bushing. Then we can lubricate the outside of those hourglass bushings. Now we'll take the end link and the hourglass bushing. Now this is really where we're going to need the vise for that, so just get it started in the vise, and we want to make sure we're pressing nice and even on that and going straight in. Now you can press on the bushing and the edge and start to center out that bushing. Now to build our end links, we're going to start with the skinniest of the three nuts that we have. So there's going to be one of each type that goes on. You'll have just a regular wider nut, the smaller ones going on first, and then we're also going to be utilizing one of the locking nuts as well. So we'll go all the way down just by hand with the skinnier one, and then we'll take that other non-locking style and thread that down to the same point. And then once we've got that on there, we can take one of the flat washers that's going to go on the outside, and then we have two sets of these bushings per link. The part that kind of sticks out a little bit is going to sit inside of the bar, so we want that facing towards where it's going to be in the bar here. Once we've got that top part built, we can take our link with the bend facing away from the bar, continue with another bushing and washer on the other side, again making sure the extended part is inside of the bar. Place our washer on there, and then the locking nut last. Now once we've got all of that in place, we're going to take a screwdriver, run it through the eyelet of that hanger there, and then we will go ahead and tighten down with a 7/8 socket just to get about a 1/2 inch of the threading exposed from underneath the lock nut. And once we've got that 7/8 nut on the bottom, that locking nut, to where we've got at least 1/2 inch of threading exposed underneath, we'll hold that still, again with our bend away from the center of the bar, so we want to make sure that's set up. This is going to be going in the exact same spot that our factory ones did, so we just kind of want to have that as close to in place as possible. And we'll take a 22mm box wrench and tighten down the first nut, leaving the jam nut out of the way. And you'll just want to follow the instruction manual as far as how far to tighten that and what specifically we're looking for as measurements of exposed threads up top. And once we've got that properly tightened there, we'll come back with the jam nut and snug that down. So for our hardware here, we do need to prep that with a little bit of blue Loctite on the threading. We're going to be reusing the hardware that came from the end links, but we are going to be replacing the hardware that holds these larger bushings on. So we'll just prep each of the pieces of hardware with a few dabs of that blue Loctite to help keep it in place. Now I'm going to use the second pair of hands again. I got Aiden helping me out. We want to make sure that when we're putting up the bar, we're going to start with these bushings here, and you want to put the spacer plate on top. So just something worth noting as we're going up, that will need to be on top of those hangers that we've got in the middle, and then the bolts are just going to ride up through the bottom into those factory weld nuts. Now for those links, you may find that you'll have to push both of the links outwards just to get them into place. So when you do that, just have somebody grab the other link, pull away, and get it on the outside of the frame. We're lining that up with the factory end link hole. So we'll be utilizing that exact same hardware, just adding a washer to the outside of it. Now it's going to be extremely hard for us to be able to show on camera since we've got a great big leaf pack here in the way. So it's pretty standard, just get through the end link, having that face outwards and as flush as we can get it, and go into the hole in the frame. And one thing you can do when you're tightening these up is kind of watch that back side. It does have a weld nut on the frame that'll show the head of that coming out right there. So we're just going to keep going until we've got it pretty much flush. We're going to leave everything a little loose while we go to just get the rest of the hardware in place, and then I'll kind of give you some explanation on how to tighten everything up. Now we're going to come back through with a torque wrench and torque all of our hardware to the specification in that instruction manual. It should be on that first page. Make sure you pay good attention to what size of hardware they're talking about specifically, because there are different torque specifications for different hardware. The other thing I was going to mention, if you don't have a torque wrench, you can either pick one up along with your order of your sway bar or head down to that local parts store and they should be able to rent one out for you. And with all of that hardware torqued to that specification shown in the instruction manual, that's going to do for our installation and look at for the rear sway bar from Hellwig on our 2024 Ford E-Cutaway. My name's Ian with E-Trailer, and I appreciate you watching.